Hi everyone, hope you're all keeping well. Today I'm going to share my version of the blue-winged olive. Cracking little fly to have in your fly box. It's certainly one not to be without, and very, very effective during the summer months. In Ireland it can be used from April right through to the end of fishing season, which is generally in September. But like I said, an excellent little fly to have. And this is my version of it here, or my variant of it here in the vice. What it imitates is basically it was tied a long time ago to imitate the blue-winged olive, or the female blue-winged olive. So when the blue-winged olive returns to the water to lay her eggs, she dies very, very shortly after. And what happens is she'll die with her wings splayed out on the water. And the sherry spinner imitates that, so it does. And as soon as the blue-winged olives start to appear, so generally depending on the months, but generally from April right through, you'll find that the blue-winged olives appearing on the water. This is a good fly to have for that reason. Now, there's another fly. This fly, the sherry spinner, is one of two flies that I would generally use when I'm fishing. The other fly basically being the olive F fly, and again imitating the tie to imitate the blue-winged olive. So it is, and the tying of this one is up on of the olive F fly is up on YouTube. It's one of the first videos I've done, and I use the two of them in conjunction together. So as good as this fly is, the olive F fly, and it is a very good fly, catches me fish nearly every cast. I'm going to be honest, it really does. But as good as that fly is, when the trout are tuned in or homed in on the sherry spinner, they're not going to take anything else. So you can throw any fly at them, but once they're feeding on the sherry spinners, that's it. So it's very important to have them in your fly box for that reason. If you see that there is spinners on the water, or sorry, the spent blue-winged olives on the water, then change over to sherry spinner, and you'll start to catch them. Okay, trout absolutely go mad for these. Very, very good fly. Okay, so the hook I have in the vise is a Dehako 301. It's a dry fly, size 18, and it's barbless. And I'm going to begin by laying down some thread. Now the thread I'm using is Kevlar silk. This particular brand is from Pescari Fly, and this is my favourite stuff to use when I'm tying. So we'll just begin by just laying down a little bit of cover onto the hook. Cut by the waist, and then just continue down to where the hook starts to bend, just like that there. And I'm just going to stop there. Now I'm going to tie in a tail on this fly, and I'm going to tie the tail in first. What I like to use for the tail from my sherry spinners is microfibbits. These would be my favourite to use. I'm using what I would call the natural colour. Maybe someone else will tell me other, but that's the colour I like to use from. Now the colour is not specific. You don't need to have these ones. You can use any colour. Now if you don't have microfibbits either, you can use fibres from a cockhackle, or you can even use fibres from a coq de leon. It's not and you can use different colours. It's not it doesn't have to be what I'm using here. Just for me, this is what I like to use. So I'm going to pull off 4 fibres. And again, the reason I'm going for 4 is I'll explain now. But keeping the fibres together, I'm just going to pinch and pull them away. And I've got 4 little fibres here. And I'm going to tie these in. So rule of thumb generally when you're tying dry flies is the tail is usually the length of the body. But when you're tying in sherry spinner, I like to, if you ever look at a blue-winged olive, the tail is usually a bit longer. So I like to tie in the tail's a little bit longer than the body. So I'm going to just place it down, and I'm going to pinch and dupe the fibres in on top of the hook, and get a couple of careful wraps in there, and then we'll have a look at the length of the tail. So it's a little bit too long for me there now at the moment, so just going to pull back a smidgen. And a little bit more. Okay, that looks perfect. So I'm going to leave it at that length. That's the length I want there. So what I'm going to do is just lock these in. So I'm just going to wind up to the top, near the top of the hook, or 3/4 of the way up, and I'm going to trim away the waste fibres. And then what I'm going to do is come back down. Now at this stage, you can leave these the way they are, these tail fibres, and be fine. But the reason I tie in 4 is I like to have 2 on each side, and I like to separate them. But like I said, it's not necessary to separate them. This fly will catch. If you're not going to separate them, just tie in a little bit more. But you know, that for me, that's fine as it is there now. You can continue on tying that fly there without separating the tails. It is a fiddly little job if you're not used to doing it. What I like to do is I like to separate them. So what I'm going to do is going to get a turn just under the hook, and I'm going to pull up, and that will aid in separating and a turn there then, and that will aid in separating the fibres somewhat for me to see them, because they are quite fiddly and small. And I'm just going to turn the vise, and I'm just going to look. So like I said, 2 on each side. So once I've got 2 on each side, I'm going to bring the double needle up through, and what I'm going to do is bring my thread up through. And once I've got my thread up through, I'm going to pull very, very carefully, not too hard, and then I'm going to wrap a lock in there. And that has basically, if you can see there, that has separated the tails. So a little bit fiddly, but once you do enough of these, once you practice it, it becomes quite easy. Now I'm going to go 3/4 of the way up the hook, and I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to tie in my wing now. Now for the wing, I'm using this stuff. I picked this up at one of the shows there earlier in the year, and it's really good. It's predator fibres, white predator fibres from Semperfli, and this is serious winging material. This stuff, like the floating properties of this stuff is serious. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just have about this much, and like I said, when you wind it together, that's what you got. And I'm going to cut off a tiny amount. So and what you'll have then is you'll have this here. Okay. Now to tie this in, I'm going to wind it together just to tie it in. It just aids with keeping it neat. And I'm going to place it down on the top of the hook, and I'm going to put in pinch and loop, and it's coming down there now. Wait, just 1 minute there. So pinch and loop, pull tight, and lock that in place. Don't be afraid to pull tight on that there and lock that in place. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn it to the side, and we're going to figure of 8 loop it, and this will aid in separating the wings and getting the wings into position that you want them for. So again, a little bit fiddly if you're not used to it, but just continue to figure 8 loop them, and they'll fall into place. And there you have it. So I'm just going to pull the thread just back down out of the way, and then when I turn it to the side, you'll see there they're figure of 8 looped, and they're separated. So that's what we're looking for there. Okay. Now what we'll do is just separate them just where I was tying them up a little bit tight there, just so I could tie them on. You want to make sure they're splayed out and fanned out. So now we don't necessarily want it this long, so what we're going to do is we're going to cut this. So what I do when I'm cutting it, how I judge my length is I pull up and I pull back, and I want my wings to be a little bit longer than the body, so I'm going to come back probably a little bit past onto the tail, and as you can see there, and that's probably the length I'm going to go for there. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to cut, and then I'm going to push them down. and then you can see there. So perfect length there for that. And like I said, just splay them out, because you want these wings to support the fly on the water as well, and with that tail. So don't worry about any stray fibres. We'll tidy them up properly when we're finishing the fly. But for now, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to come back down to the end of the fly, to the near the tail, and I'm going to get ready now to tie in my dubbing. So I'll just pull the little fibres out. I don't really want to catch any of them wing fibres in the fly. So now the dubbing I'm going to use for the fly is it's my own blend of a dubbing that I've made. It's basically this stuff here. I'll take it out of the packet and show you. It's a fiery orange, or a fiery kind of reddy orange dubbing. It's how I've made it basically is I've had red hare's ear, and I've had orange hare's ear basically, and I've blended them together, more red than orange, but I blended them together in a coffee grinder. And then what I've done is I've added a little bit of sparkle and blended it again. And when I got the actual colour I wanted, I added the sparkle. A lot of people have been asking me how I make this, and I will do a video on it showing how I actually make this. But it's my own little blend, and I find it quite good for tying these sherry spinners. Adds a little bit of flash to it, which attracts the trout, I think, a little bit more. But so what we're going to do is I'm going to just pull down the thread a bit, and I'm going to tie it on. I'm going to dub it onto the thread quite high to create that taper. Okay, and we'll begin to create our body. So I just keep my tails separated. Just don't want to trap any of them wing fibres in it there, if I can help it. So now we'll begin to create our body. Come right tight up to the wing, and then what we're going to do is, again, we're going to figure a eight loop the dubbing in around the wing. Just like that. And then what I'm going to do is pull the wing out, and I'm going to put a couple of tight wraps just at the head of the fly. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create my little head there now on the fly, and to do that, all I'm going to do is I'm going to use a black Sharpie, or a red Sharpie marker, sorry. I'm just going to colour the thread, and I'm going to pull the wings out, and I'm just going to get a couple of wraps just in there, and that creates my little head for the fly. And then we can whip finish, and we can tidy it up. So pull it tight, snip away, and there you have it. So any stray fibres that you don't want, just snip them out, and don't snip the wing. You want to keep the wing, don't, you know, as splayed out as you can, but you don't want any unnatural looks to the wing. So just don't cut that wing if you can help, but you just want to keep the that looks like it is good to go there. Just one little fibre there that might hinder threading the eye of the hook, and there you have it. My tail just got a little closed, but there you go. So there you have it, and that's my sherry spinner, and it's a cracking all around little fly to use when the trout are tuned in on the spent blue-winged olives. So look, give this a go. It's a like I said, it's a must-have. It's one to have. When the trout are on these, trout really do nail these, and when they're on them, they're not going to pay any other fly any attention. You know, they're really going to be focusing on these. And that's it. It's quite a simple little fly to tie. There's nothing really to it. You know, even beginners can tie this. But like I said, it's one to have in the fly box. So give it a go. I hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, I hope it's as effective for you as it is for me. Thanks for watching. All the best.